the second thing that's in the courage to be disliked that kind of blew my mind is they speak about that all concerns, troubles, issues, problems, whatever word we're wanting to use in life are connected to interpersonal relationships. And they speak about the three tasks of life. And there's professional or work tasks, which is essentially the interpersonal relationships in a work context. There's the friendship tasks, which is essentially the interpersonal relationships in a friendship context. And then there's the romantic tasks, which is the interpersonal relationships with your romantic partner. And the examples that they share are outstanding because I keep challenging it in my mind. And that's what's beautiful about the way it's written, by the way, with these the dialogue, is because in your mind, you'll be like, no, but surely that can't happen because of this, this, and this. And then a page later, the question will be asked by the youth, challenging the philosopher on the thought process. And that same thing comes up. So it's really well written. But when you start figuring it out, when you start thinking about it, if you think about any challenges, concerns, whatever it is that you've had, generally it's connected to an interpersonal relationship in some way or the other. And once we start realizing that it means that we can start assigning meaning to what we're doing or what we're not doing in a very different manner. Sometimes we might not realize that's an interpersonal relationship need. I just want to become the best public speaker. Okay, Justin, why is that interpersonal? Well, deep down, I need to become a really good public speaker because I've got this dying need to be liked by everybody that sees me walk on stage, as an example. Maybe a shitty example, probably, but it's based on interpersonal relationships. That's what's driving that burning desire. So it's also got me thinking a lot. Like, so much comes down to interpersonal relationships. And I suppose that's why it's called the courage to be disliked.
Yeah, the authors, so I looked it up here. I read that book a long time ago and had to refresh my memory. But the authors pose that all problems are really relationship problems. Yeah. And that makes sense because we as humans, human interaction is so important to us. And I never really realized that as much as when we went through the pandemic. And I realized how much we crave human connection. It is part of the experience. I truly believe that we are all connected somehow. There may be a few outliers who don't need any human interaction, but most of us need that. So we are driven by the response that we get from these different relationships, whether we realize it or not. So yeah, that's a great example. The response that we get from the crowd, the appreciation, that really, it keeps me going. It fuels me. I won't lie. Speaking and never got any response from anyone, then I probably wouldn't still be speaking. It is the motivation that keeps me going and knowing that I'm making a positive impact in people's lives. The messages that I get, getting invited back, things like that. So let me think. What else? Oh, and the romantic. What were the three types again? The romantic.
Essentially work context, so professional, friendships, and then romantic. Those would be the three buckets that they put them in.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that is huge. And to look at it through that lens and to understand that, yes, I'm being driven by the response that I'm getting from another human being in whatever this thing is that I'm doing, I think is just a good thing to be aware of, and to be knowledgeable about. But what do we do with that information? Like, what would be the king move there in realizing that all problems are interpersonal relationship problems?
Ethan, I knew you were going to ask me that question, and I was like, please don't ask me, please don't. I'm joking. The reality is, I think it's just about awareness, and I think a king move is anything that you're feeling challenged about currently, take a step back and give some thought to, in what way is this linked to a relationship? If we're speaking about all problems are interpersonal, just take a step back and say, in what way is this linked to a personal relationship? And that might be linked to somebody at work. It might be linked to a friend. It might be linked to your romantic partner. But something that is creating that problem, that anxiety, that challenge that you experience, it's linked to the need to be something or show up for somebody in a certain way. And I think take a step back, ask yourself that question, and you might be surprised by what comes off.
Yeah. And I'll say this, the king move for me would be first being aware that we are driven by interpersonal relationships. But as they say, if you live for the cheers, you'll die by the booze. So don't get too hung up on seeking approval from others. Yes, we need to be aware that I am human and I do crave this feedback from others, but I can't be dependent on it.
Love it.
All right. Thanks, Justin.
That's a wrap for today's episode of King Moves. Remember, in chess, like in business,
one right move can change everything.
Take today's action step, make your move, and build momentum.
If you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who's ready for their next breakthrough, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our weekly conversations. Until next time.